This week's DM went a little something like this. Hey, She's on the Money. This might be over the top, but it's getting colder and my winter anxiety is setting in. I live in a share house and I'm really careful with my money. I'll layer up, sit under a blanket before I even think about turning the heating on. But my housemate is the total opposite. She'll crank the heating the second it's cold and walk around in a t-shirt like it's summer. Every time I hear it kick on, I feel sick thinking about the bill. Our priorities are just so different. She earns more than I do and doesn't seem to think about the cost, and I literally lie in bed worrying about it. I don't think it's fair that we split the bill 50-50 because I barely use the heater. I haven't said anything because I don't want to be that housemate, but it's starting to really stress me out. What do you even do in that situation?
I am the crank the heater housemate, but I also think like if you are living with someone, this is the tricky thing about like housemates and like any kind of situation where you are put in a position where like if you discuss how you're feeling, people are, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I think like in this dynamic, the likelihood of someone getting defensive is so much higher for some reason in like a share house environment. So it's like you don't want to, it's very hard to like just be like, oh, just communicate with them because this is a very scary situation. I totally get that. But hopefully your housemate is someone who is really, really open and really chill, really fair, really kind, and is not going to be defensive. That is the perfect scenario. I think that it really is just a matter of talking about how you kind of deal with, I do think it's, and I don't want to be like, communication is key, but I think people grow up different. I feel like if you grew up wanting to just blast the heater, like I grew up in a heater household where like there's not even for a single second, there's no way I'm going to be uncomfortable in my own house. And then I moved in with a friend who was like, just put a blanket on. I'm like, can we please put the heater on? And she's like, put a blanket on. Just put some pants on. And like, but then once I move from the blanket and I'm in the air again, I'm freezing cold. And I just want to move around my home comfortably. And she's like, no, it's, just chuck some socks on. Just put more socks on.
That's me. Like, I'm that friend.
How many fucking pairs of socks do I need to wear? Just put the heater on. And so like, I'm a heater girl because I want the air to be warm. I want to move freely.
You would,
but I will also I'll happily pay more.
You would hate living with me.
I hate being cold.
You would, because like even when the heater goes on, get this guys, this is not a flex, Jess would hate living with me as well. In fact, when Jess comes to my house, I purposefully put the heater up because I know she'll be more comfortable.
Oh, that's cute.
But like I will put the heater up to a level when Jess is not in my house that it just takes the edge off. Like it doesn't have to be warm, but like, girl, we're not going to be living in 23-degree heat. Like you don't need that.
23-degree heat?
No, absolutely not.
That's
in winter,
not
your
heat.
house does not need to be 23 degrees, but like you can't be below like 16. That's ridiculous.
Totally.
But like, I'll get it up to 20 and then I'll turn off the heater. Yeah,
That's what I'm doing.
Because you can wear socks and a blankie and like it's just so not efficient energy-wise, but also like it's so expensive. Like
That's the biggie.
it's so expensive.
It is expensive. But if someone was like, I'll pay 70, 80% of the energy bill.
Yeah, but you're not having that conversation yet. So
No.
like if your housemate had said that, you're not going to feel sick at night, are you? Like you're not going to be like worried about it. Jess, what would you do if you and I had to live
I'm like
together?
right in the middle. So as you guys know, someone actually commented this on one of our reels very recently. We spoke about, do you remember we filmed it? It was like, what would you not give up from your budget? And I said, I don't think there's anything that I wouldn't cut if I had to cut things.
Yes.
And someone commented and said, would Jess give up her heating? Which made me giggle.
That's
and
so
I said, we've
cute.
actually reduced our average temperature by 2 degrees this year.
Oh, wow. It's important though.
It is important. It's better for the environment. And also just like last year, 1 month we had a bill that was $800 and I nearly died.
What? But for the
From
quarter
gas. Huh?
for the quarter?
For the gas.
No,
it
for
was
the
for a
month.
month.
Really?
Yeah, and that's when I think our house, and this is the thing, is we have high ceilings, we have a 4-bedroom house, like
Sure.
it's not cheap to heat. So it all, there's lots of things that factor in. I would say, I agree, you got to talk to your housemate, because if they're like Beck and they grew up in a household where you didn't think about it, I grew up in a house that didn't have heating as a child. Like we did not, we had one single flame heater on the wall. And that was it. Like we didn't have centralized heating, so it's never something we thought about. As an adult, I was like, oh my God, heating, this is mint. Like,
yeah.
and so I've just like gone really hard on the extreme. But if you're someone who never had to think about it, it might not even be occurring to them in the way that it is to you. So I think that by bringing it up, if they're, as Vicky was saying, if they're a nice person, they might just go, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I hadn't even thought about that. So hopefully if you approach them kindly, they can just see it from your perspective. A good alternative, if there's someone like Beck who does want to live in warm air, look at like a little space heater. You can get some like relatively energy efficient ones nowadays. And particularly like if you're sitting in a living room or a bedroom, like you don't need to be heating a house and all of its rooms if you're not using all of the rooms.
Totally.
So those little space heaters are great because then maybe your housemate could heat whatever room they're in to their heart's desire. They can keep it toasty, comfortable. They don't have to feel bad. And the electricity is generally a lot more affordable than gas as well. So if you can get an energy efficient one, because there are some that are really not super energy efficient, that might be a good middle ground. But I think just have a chat to them and see how it goes.
I wasn't even thinking about that because we don't really do the aircon like household thing. I was thinking about those little orange radiator heaters.
Yeah.
You put your heater blanket on, you got your radiator. You know, it's and so that's what I was. So that's actually a really good idea to even think about
throw
that.
blanket too. We recommended this on stories recently.
Jess and I used to have them at our desks.
At the office. They're if you're an office girly, you need a heated throw. You can get them at Kmart. I think they're about $45. Aldi did them as a special buy a few weeks ago for $35. That is, you would be shocked at how warm one of those keeps you.
Oh my God, that's a great
Maybe
idea.
buy them one as a gift.
Also, I want to mention here, because Beck, you said that it was a really scary thing to have these conversations with your housemate, and I totally get that. I think when you're having these conversations, you also need to take the emotion out of it. Like you need to actually look at how you're approaching situations like this, because if Beck, you and I lived together and I came to you and I said, you always have the heater on, immediately you're going to be defensive.
100%.
So we need to approach it. Hey, Beck, I'm actually really stressed about the money side of things and I noticed our bill's really high. And I feel, we're not saying you do, we're saying, I feel like we could probably cut back on how much we use the heater because I didn't realize how much it was. Or, you know, you could even find some soft ways to integrate it. Be like, I saw this TikTok about how much heaters like actually cost and how much they bump up your bill. Or, you know, I listened to this podcast. Like, you don't have to immediately go, you always have the heater. The second you do that, you're making it a defensive conversation and they're not going to come to the table. They're going to come to their own defense. So like, how do you start a conversation where people are going to come to the table as opposed to come to the defense? So I think in any situation, whether it's your housemate storing their stuff on your shelf in the fridge or if it is you know, trying to negotiate the heating bill, it's a we thing. We are in a household together and we are able to have an impact on our finances.
It's also like the problem is that the energy prices and you take the people out of it. It's like you probably love your housemate and you guys have no
exactly. So that's why we need to tackle things as a group as opposed to this housemate does one thing and another. That just creates division. And it's just going to mean that that's a point of contention and you might drop the conversation and never want to come back to it because you're like, oh, we just fought when that happened.
Definitely. You want to hear what everyone else has to say?
Yes, please.
Alrighty. So the first thing we asked over on Instagram was, are you the type of person who rugs up before you put the heating on? 61% said, yep, I'm a human burrito. 20% said, no, give me the warmth ASAP. And 19% said, in this economy, yeah, I am. Next, we said, how would you handle this situation? 80% of people said, girl, you got to bring it up ASAP. 9% of people said, I'm just going to live with it. And 12% of people said, I'd passive aggressively start dropping some hints.
Okay.
No passive aggressiveness. No one wants to live with someone who's passive aggressive.
No, it makes people angry.
Stop leaving notes on things. Stop it.
Yeah. Awkward chats in the group text. Stop it.
Stop leaving the house then sending a group message. Cut that out.
Lastly, we said, give us your 2 cents. We definitely got some thoughts. Firstly, somebody said, I implemented a 5 clothing rule in my share house.
5?
You must be wearing pants, a top, a jumper, socks, and slippers before the heater goes on.
Wow.
I kind of don't hate it. To be honest.
I feel like it's fair.
I think it's fair too. Next, somebody said, to me, heating is a basic necessity and I'd give up other things before I gave up heating, which is also a very fair take. Somebody else said, you have to take the downsides with the upsides of sharing a house. It is cheaper for a reason, which is kind of a good point.
Yeah, but it's not if you just have the heater on the whole time.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
you
that's
could probably
true.
pay more, less and live on your own.
Exactly.
Somebody else said, I'd want to have proof that it makes a significant difference before I bother bringing it up. So
Girl,
maybe
just look at your
bills.
winter versus your summer bill.
Yeah.
There's your proof.
100%,
Yeah.
or year on year potentially even.
Before Jess moved in
Yeah.
versus once Jess moved
So
in.
much cheaper. Oh, also get a heat pack. Heat packs are great for heating. That's another one I've
Oh,
heard.
true.
Somebody else said, I've been in this exact situation. I said nothing. My housemates work from home and had the heating on 24/7. This is also a great
No.
point. If one person,
Oh.
because I'm the work from home person, but I just
Yeah.
don't turn the heater on. Like we have it on in the morning to bring it
Yeah.
up to 19 degrees, 20 degrees, and then I'll leave it off, snug with a heat bag, and then it goes on the evening when we're both home.
Oh, cute.
So like
That's
maybe
very
there's
thoughtful.
that's what we try anyway. Maybe there's a middle ground. Somebody else said bring it up, but be prepared that they'll probably have grievances to raise too.
Yeah, they're going to
You're
be
opening
like,
the
well,
floodgates.
yeah, that's fair.
well, Beck, stop stealing our cereal.
Yeah, stop leaving your socks next to the laundry basket.
That's targeted, isn't it, Jessica?
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a conversation about that this week. And lastly, somebody said, hide the remote and then plead innocence. Whoop, she's just disappeared. What a shame.
Oh, yeah,
No heating for
true.
us.
Yeah, because there's no it's not like a TV where there's like another button on the thing. Or maybe
Yeah.
there is. I don't know.
I don't
That's a
know
great
how
Ours
it
is a
works.
wall one, but it depends. Could work.
Ours has the remote sitting on the wall.
Mhm.
I'm pulling it off.
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
no, it definitely wasn't me. I never turn the heating on. I don't know where the remote went.
Yeah,
You
totally.
know what is a really budget-friendly
Gaslight.
option? You can actually have a baby and then you can blame the remote going missing on the baby.
He must have run off with it.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
eaten
Oh,
it.
must
In
have been
9
Harvey.
months, you're going to be just fine.
You're going to be financially flush.
And I think that's it from us this
Perfect.
week.
I'm going to see me out.
I hope you're feeling better next week, VD. We miss your
Thank you.
dulcet tones,
Yeah.
but you can hear them bright and early on
Dulcet tones.
Monday if you
Yeah,
tune in for
because that
Monday.
was recorded before this.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I think it's quite sexy.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
hate
sexy.
it.
That's
It's
very
sexy.
nice. That's very nice. We'll see you next week, guys.